You think they love you, huh? Do you think those smiles, hugs, and I'm here for you texts mean something real? Don't be fooled. People are actors, baby. Some are Oscar-worthy. They look you dead in the eye and sell you a fantasy wrapped in comfort, stitched with promises they never plan to keep. The truth? They love the version of you that serves their comfort. The quiet, the soft, the available, and the one that listens to all their drama but never dares to spill their own. They don't love you. They love the role you play in their show. The moment you drop the script, the moment you step out of line, the applause dies, the curtains fall, and suddenly you're too much, too cold, changed. No, you didn't change. You just stopped performing. You took the mask off. And what a crime that is, right? Because God forbid you show your scars, your rage, your boundaries. Let me tell you something most people will never say out loud. They don't care about your truth. They care about their convenience. You're allowed to break, sure, but quietly. You're allowed to cry, but only behind closed doors. You're allowed to struggle, but don't you dare make them uncomfortable with your pain. Keep it hidden. Keep it pretty. Keep it silent. And what happens when you don't? They ghost you. They label you. They walk away with zero explanation and act like you're the villain. But that's the trick, right? That's the joke. They make you believe you were the problem all along. That your honesty, your vulnerability, and your rawness were the reason they ran. Don't be fooled. That wasn't love. That was control disguised as affection. That was need disguised as care. That was manipulation wearing a smile. People like to say, I'm not like the others. Yeah? Watch how fast they become exactly like the others the moment they don't get what they want. Loyalty is cheap talk. Most of them are loyal until their comfort is threatened. Then they flip. Then they vanish. Then they call you crazy while they rewrite the story to make themselves the hero. Have you ever noticed how villains are always the ones who finally snapped after being used too long? There's a reason for that. Sometimes the only way to be free is to become the very thing they fear. Not because you're evil, but because you're done. Done being used. Done being polite. Done playing the fool. You burn the bridge, not out of hate, but because you finally understand. They never planned to walk across it with you. They just wanted to camp on it until someone better came along. And oh, they will come back. Not all of them, but the ones who knew you were real. They'll return when the fake ones fail them, when the lies catch up, when the silence they once loved becomes too loud to bear. They'll knock. They'll smile, they'll say, I miss you. And in that moment, you've got to remember what they did when you needed them, not what they say now. Don't be fooled by nostalgia. It's a liar too. It makes poison taste like wine. It makes scars feel like blessings. It makes you forget that the same hands reaching out now once let go of you like you were nothing. You owe them nothing. Not your time, not your response, not even your hatred. Just silence and success. That's your revenge. That's your closure. They always said you were the strong one, didn't they? That's the funny part. They praised your strength, right up until you started using it for yourself. As long as your strength was used to carry them, to lift them, to fix them, it was admirable. But the moment you turned that strength inward, to protect yourself, to rebuild your shattered mind, to walk away from people who only showed up when it benefited them, they flipped the script. You've changed, they said. You're cold now. No, you just stopped bleeding for people who would never even offer you a bandage. You got tired of being everyone's lifeline while you were drowning. You learned that survival isn't pretty, it's brutal, it's selfish, and it's lonely. But it's necessary. And once you realize that, Once you step out of the addiction to being liked, there's no going back. You see the game for what it is. A stage full of cowards, pretending to be loyal. Actors reciting lines of love with knives behind their backs. And suddenly, silence becomes peace. Solitude becomes power. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop hoping. And that's when you win. People won't tell you this, but I will. Your value doesn't rise or fall based on who stays. It's not a discount tag that gets slashed every time someone walks away. The ones who left you when you were raw and honest, let them go. That was their test. They failed. They wanted the version of you that didn't set boundaries, that didn't ask for respect, that didn't demand the same energy in return. They wanted access, not connection, control, not love. And when you stopped playing their game, they labeled you the problem. But guess what? That label is freedom. When they call you cold, distant, difficult, it means you're no longer easy to manipulate. That scares them. They're used to people who fold. But you burnt the handbook. You rewrote the rules. And now they can't read you anymore. That silence they once mocked, it's loud now. Loud enough to make them uncomfortable. Loud enough to echo all the things they refused to hear when you were screaming for understanding. And the truth is, they don't want the healed version of you either. Healing makes you see through lies. It sharpens your vision. It makes you question everything you once accepted. And that's dangerous to them. Because once you heal, they lose their grip. You stop apologizing for things you didn't do. You stop making excuses for their absence. You stop begging for time, love, and attention. You stop explaining your worth like it's some forgotten math problem they just couldn't solve. Healing is rebellion. It says, I'm enough without you. And that, my friend, is the greatest threat to people who built their self-worth on keeping you small. They don't want you healed because a healed version of you won't tolerate their half-love, their conditional loyalty, their breadcrumb affection. A healer sets standards. A healer, you walk away without explanation. A healer, you, doesn't entertain emotional beggars who only show up when they're empty, but vanish the second you need a refill. And that's the real reason they fear your growth. Not because you became worse, but because you became aware. Aware of your patterns, aware of your worth, aware of the masks they wore. You stopped needing validation. You stopped chasing ghosts. You stopped answering calls from people who only dialed your number when their world falls apart. Your silence. It's not bitterness. It's clarity. It's peace. It's the sound of boundaries being built. It's the sound of a soul choosing itself for once. It's not revenge. It's redemption. It's resurrection. You died in rooms they swore were safe. You buried versions of yourself that no one even knew existed. And still, here you are. Wiser, colder, clearer. Meets you where you are. It stays, it shows up. And it never makes you beg. So when they come crawling back with, I've changed and I miss us, don't let nostalgia trick you. That wasn't love. That was attachment. That was needed. That was control. And you're not for sale anymore. You're not available for repeat cycles. You're not their second chance. You're a closed door with peace behind it. Because healing doesn't look like taking them back. Healing looks like deleting the number without hesitation. Like walking past their name without a heartbeat spike. Like laughing with people who never needed to break you just to feel important. Healing looks like choosing yourself every single time. And never feeling guilty for it again. That's the power they can't stand. That's the version of you they hoped would never be born. But it's too late now. You woke up. You got up. You moved on. And now they have to live with the echo of the person they destroyed and the silence of the person they'll never get back. They'll swear they remember the good times, that what you had was special. They'll romanticize the memories, replay the laughs, the moments, the "we were different" lies, hoping nostalgia will soften your spine. But don't be fooled. Memory is a weapon in the hands of the manipulative. They'll cherry-pick the smiles and hide the betrayals. They'll whisper, "I miss you," like it means something now, like it cancels out the nights you cried alone while they ignore your messages, the mornings you woke up with a heavy chest because their silence screamed louder than any goodbye. They'll say, "I never meant to hurt you," but they did, over and over, because hurting you was easier than growing up, than being accountable, than facing the fact that they broke someone real. And the worst part, they thought you'd never leave. They mistook your loyalty for blindness, your patience for weakness, your love for dependency. But when you finally cut that cord, they realized they were never the ones holding you together. You were. And the moment you stop being useful to them is the moment they stop caring. That's the harsh law of modern loyalty. Most people don't want love. They want convenience. Someone to listen but never speak. Someone to give but never ask. Someone to fix their chaos without ever acknowledging the damage they cause. And when you stop playing that part, when you dare to need, to feel, to demand reciprocity, they withdraw. They call you too much. But the truth is, they were never enough. Not for someone like you. Someone who sees through the masks. Someone who doesn't want half-love, conditional affection, or hollow words. Someone who needs depth, consistency, and reality. You scared them, not because you were broken, but because you were whole in ways they refused to become. Let me make something clear. Closure is a myth. You don't need their apology. You don't need their explanation. You don't need them to admit they were wrong. Healing doesn't come from their mouth. It comes from your decision to move on without it. You want peace? Stop replaying the conversations that never ended right. Stop wondering what you could have done differently. You did enough. You were enough. The problem wasn't your heart. It was the hands you placed it in. You gave love to someone who saw it as leverage, not a gift. And now you love yourself enough to never let that happen again. That's growth. That's evolution. That's the version of you that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain. That's the version that walks away from tables where respect isn't being served, where loyalty is optional, and where love feels more like a war than a home. And when they ask, "Why'd you change?" Tell them, "I didn't. I just finally matched your energy." Tell them, "I stopped being the only one fighting for something we both should have protected." Tell them, "You taught me how to leave by showing me what staying costs." And most importantly, tell them nothing at all. Because sometimes the greatest power you have is the one they can't touch. Your absence, your silence, your glow up, your peace. Let that be the lesson. Let that be the closure. Let them sit with the echo of your name, knowing they'll never hear your voice again. Not in love, not in pain, not in apology. Have you ever thought about how they expected you to stay broken, just because they left you that way? Like they thought their absence would bury you, paralyze you, make you crawl back begging for the same treatment that killed you in the first place. But you didn't die. You didn't fold. You didn't drown in the silence they left behind. You built it in. You sat with the pain, looked it dead in the eyes and said, "I'll make something out of you." And you did. You turned heartbreak into fuel, betrayal into blueprints, and loneliness into power. And now you move differently. You walk heavier, not because you carry baggage, but because you carry fewer people. You cut dead weight. You stopped over-explaining your worth. You stopped bleeding for people who only loved you when you were easy to use. You hardened, but not into bitterness, into wisdom, into clarity, into discipline. You learned the most dangerous skill of all, how to be alone and not feel empty. And now they feel it. The absence, the void, the way the room doesn't feel right without your energy. You were the one who listened, the one who stayed, the one who gave, even when you had nothing left. You were the consistency they never appreciated until it was gone. And now, their new audience doesn't clap the same. Their new toy doesn't shine like yours did. The replacements don't come with the same soul, the same depth, the same loyalty. Because what they had wasn't common. It was sacred. And they mistook it for something disposable. Now they sit with that mistake. They scroll through your silence, hoping for a crack, a post, a message, a sign that you still care. But all they get is the echo, the reminder that they traded gold for dust. And that dust, it's in their lungs now. It chokes them every time they try to rewrite the story and pretend you were the problem. But you're not bitter. You're just done. And being done doesn't mean you hate them. It means you finally loved yourself enough to stop allowing this cycle, to stop mistaking pain for passion, to stop hoping someone broken would ever know how to love someone whole. You realize something critical. It's not your job to fix people who benefit from staying damaged. Some of them don't want healing. They want chaos they can control. They want drama disguised as depth. They want victims who don't fight back. But you fought. You rose. You chose peace over patterns. And now they call you heartless, cold, different. Let them scream into the void that they created when they failed to water the very soul that fed them. You became what they feared. A version of yourself that doesn't need them. A version that learned not to chase closure, not to beg for decency, not to carry the weight of someone else's immaturity. You don't chase anymore. You attract. Because when you stop pouring into the ungrateful, your cup finally fills. With focus, with power, with peace. And the truth is, you're not hard to love. You were just surrounded by people who didn't know what love meant. Now you do. And it starts with choosing you every single time, without hesitation, without guilt. And when they see you now, glowing in the quiet, thriving in the stillness, unfazed by their absence, it eats at them. Not because they miss you, not really, but because you were never supposed to survive without them. They saw themselves as essential, irreplaceable, the core of their worth. And now that you walk like you never knew them, smile like they never hurt you, and build without looking back, they realize something terrifying. They weren't the center of your story, just a chapter, and not even a good one. Just a messy, painful lesson dressed up as love. That realization, it breaks people. Because the same silence they once mocked is now the very thing that screams their failure. They lost someone who gave them more chances than they deserved, and now they're stuck with people who only know how to take, who don't bring what you brought, who don't feel like you felt. And there's no rewind button for that. They had the real, and they chose the temporary. They had substance, and they chased attention, and now they're starving in the shallow. But you You're not chasing, not explaining, not breaking. You're building. Quietly, steadily, fiercely. And yeah, maybe it still hurts sometimes. Maybe some nights you still feel the echo, still replay the words you never got to say. But that pain doesn't control you anymore. It fuels you. You've learned that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about understanding. About seeing it for what it was, and deciding to rise anyway. You've learned that peace isn't passive. It's a battle, a choice, a process. And you fight for it every day by choosing not to return to what broke you. That's a strength. That's self-respect. That's power they'll never know. Because they're still running from themselves, while you stand rooted in truth. You became the version of yourself they prayed you'd never become. The one that doesn't flinch. The one that doesn't answer late-night texts. The one that doesn't show up just because someone's finally ready to recognize your worth. You became unreachable, not because you disappeared, but because you finally understood the value of your presence. And that scares people, because they're used to the old you, the one who gave endless chances, the one who stayed in toxic places just to protect what felt familiar. But the new you, the one who knows his worth, who loves without losing himself, that one's dangerous. That one's silent when disrespected. That one doesn't negotiate his peace. And that one, he doesn't come back. Let them sit in the mess they made. Let them feel the absence they created. You don't need revenge. Your evolution is enough. Your success is the apology they'll never give. Your peace is the revenge they'll never recover from. And your silence, that's the sound of someone who finally chose himself. Who finally said never again. And meant it. Let them feel that. Let it echo. Let it burn.